Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Luke, and for this reinsurance news video interview, I'm delighted to welcome Nikhil da Victoria Lobo, Head of P&C for Western and Southern Europe and the Middle East and Africa at industry giant Swiss Re. Nikhil, it's great to see you. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
So, Nikhil joins me as reinsurers gear up for the 2025 Baden-Baden Reinsurance Meeting, when the market comes together to build on and cement the negotiations kicked off at RVS ahead of the crucial January 1 renewals. Given Nikhil's role and the regional focus of the 1/1 renewal season, today we're going to explore market trends and the outlook for January 1 and beyond, including pricing, supply and demand, secondary perils and frequency covers, technology, and more as reinsurers navigate the still hard but softening environment. So, Nikhil, to start, how do you see the current supply-demand balance evolving in the global P&C reinsurance market? And what factors are shaping pricing trends in Western and Southern Europe and also the Middle East and Africa?
Thank you for the question. And again, it's a real pleasure to be here and chat to your audience. First, it's probably a good moment to say I think the reinsurance market is generally quite efficient right now and quite stable. But obviously, if you look a little bit under the fundamentals, you see some underlying both strengths but also challenges. Let me start with the one that's on everyone's mind, climate and natural catastrophes. So on one hand, I think the industry did fantastically well in absorbing, after the LA wildfires, a $40 billion insurance loss. That said, and we've had, thankfully, a benign year since then, that said, that 40 billion equated to almost 30% of many reinsurers' catastrophe budgets. So despite the benign year, you see challenges on the fundamentals. A second one I'd point out is a number of European jurisdictions, which I look after, including Italy and Spain as an example, are adjusting their bodily injury tables. This will have an immediate but also longer term impact on how segments like motor operate. And lastly, which is, I think, evident to many of us, is the world still continues to be highly unstable. And unfortunately, this puts pressure both, we talk about the economy in areas like inflation, supply chain, but also in topics like strike ride and civil commotion. So all of this put together, clearly our focus as Swiss Re coming to Baden-Baden will be on stability, consistency, continuing to be partners. But I'd also highlight to the audience that, again, the industry is very resilient, but there are fundamental challenges in society.
Yeah, that's a good message. Yeah. So then more focusing on the renewal. So your outlook for the January 2026 renewals in Europe, and specifically, do you think there's going to be any main differences to the 2025 renewal?
I think there'll be a lot of consistency with what we've messaged in the last number of years. So again, stability, consistency is a big focus of ours. But the three big topics that continue to be on everyone's mind, as I mentioned before, and again, I take a little bit of pride that in some ways, the topics we talk about of our industry are tied to what topics in every industry are talking about. So namely, climate, secondly, the economy, and third, geopolitics. And digging deeper into how it manifests itself in our renewal discussions. Obviously, when we talk about climate and natural catastrophes, we talk a lot about the right terms, the right structures, ensuring that pricing is stable so that the industry can be predictable and sustainable. Secondly, when we talk about the economy, I mentioned about supply chain earlier. It's really essential that when we talk about casualty, we think about the right loss picks and we think about the right assumptions, right? Because if we see inflation mismatched with our assumptions that we use in loss pick, not only we as an industry will be paying for it, but more critically, we won't be able to help the end consumers who need casualty type insurance products. And lastly, in geopolitics, again, very evidently, whether you're talking about specialty lines like aviation or marine, or whether you're talking about property programs that cover strike riot and civil commotion, we need to be very conscious that, again, our industry is not immune from the tides shaping the rest of humanity, and we need to bring that forefront in the discussions and negotiations. Again, very consistent with the past, but as important as ever.
Yeah. Okay. And then picking up on one of the points you raised there around climate and specifically the rising losses from secondary perils across Europe and beyond, what can reinsurers such as Swiss Re do in the face of these? And do you think this signals a return to frequency covers?
Thank you for the question. And it's one that I've been getting from clients and brokers through the course of the year, maybe taking a little bit of a step back, right? What do I personally see as the role of reinsurers? And for me, it's three things. First and foremost, reinsurers are the shock absorber. Second, reinsurers are here to share their know-how and expertise with the end clients to make not only the world more resilient, but insurance more accessible. And third, reinsurers are here to put a independent, albeit imperfect, price tag on risk. So if I look at the first one as the shock absorber, right now we see a trend where natural catastrophe losses are exceeding almost 100 billion insured losses per year. There's a 1 in 10 chance that those losses can even exceed 200 to 300 billion dollars. Under these kind of peak events or peak years, reinsurers pick up 60% of those losses. That's a really large amount that reinsurers have to step in and pay. And it's essential that reinsurers can do that sustainably in those peak events as a shock absorber to society. Yeah. Second point I'd make when we talk about know-how is we invest a lot of our time and energy, whether it's ranging from claims expertise, sharing it globally, to training seminars on how to develop new products and how to do underwriting, to things like some of the technology Swiss Re provides its clients around things like CatNet, right? Tools to model catastrophe risks. This know-how comes from being sustainable and from being here for the long term. And the third piece on the price tag on risk, what reinsurers do is give an independent view on risk, and hopefully in that also build in mechanisms and incentives for insurance companies to help clients mitigate their risk too. So coming to your big question about frequency and severity, we see obviously the increasing trend in risk. We believe insurers are really well placed to incentivize for clients to mitigate risk and to act as the first line of defense. But we take very seriously our role as the shock absorber, second and hopefully last line of defense to society.
Yeah, thanks. That's a good point on the shock absorber thing. I think it's one that needs to just be remembered by the industry at points. And then, and I suppose with that in mind, as reinsurers work to play that role and the market softens from the highs of 2023, what must reinsurers such as Swiss Re do to continue to meet the cost of capital next year and beyond?
Thank you. And for me, it's actually a very simple answer. At the end of the day, we want reinsurers to do those three things: shock absorbers, transferring know-how globally, as well as the price tag on risk. And for that, what we charge in premium has to be commensurate with the risk in what continues to be a ever riskier global environment. So that balance is really fundamental, and that sustainability is fundamental to society.
Yeah, and I think balance is one of the key words there, isn't it? So then shifting gears a bit, I think let's go on to technology. So what role are emerging technologies such as AI and advanced data analytics, but then also structures such as parametric risk transfer, what roles are they playing in the evolution of reinsurance offerings currently?
Well, thank you. Good question, looking at both, let's say, the operational topic as well as innovation. And maybe I start with the AI piece. Look, here at Swiss Re, we believe AI is transformative. And it's transformative for what it will do on the underwriting assessment. It's transformative on what it will do for claims management. And it's transformative for what it will generally do for productivity. So we've really embedded here in the company the mantra that we want, in whatever role people working in the company, to be technology mindset oriented. But that said, and particularly here as obviously I get ready to pack my bags and go to Baden-Baden, I think the technology is complemented by human decision making, and particularly at Swiss Re, and this is for all the audience who'll be meeting their Swiss Re underwriters in the next coming days, from the human touch and local know-how. So we believe that technology and AI will really make the underwriters, who many of your clients know so well, be better educated, be better decision makers, and be more responsive to the needs. So that's how we see the empowerment of AI. On your second part of the question on innovation, I do think our industry has a really important role in driving sustainability by creating new, not only products, but new ways of tackling age-old risks. The three ones that, for me, particularly are close to my heart. First, when we talk about public-private partnerships, and I'm very proud here also that Italy this year is launching, finally, its new natural catastrophe law system. And again, it's clear that it will be improved over time, but the Italians are taking action and we should applaud them for doing so. Secondly, I think when you talk about parametric center of excellence, Swiss Re has done parametric insurance and reinsurance for many years. But we bring this all together in this new reinsurance center of excellence so that we can help clients innovate, but also expand the use of this very responsive form of insurance. And third, one that's probably a little bit under the radar for many of your audience, Swiss Re is investing a lot of its time in how we make sustainability a commercial solution for clients, particularly on topics like Build Back Better. So we have teams who work with clients to see how do you build in those mitigation and resilience encouraging features into everyday reinsurance. Because if we can transfer that know-how to our end clients, they help their end clients become more resilient. So for me, AI, as well as these new structures, as you say, hopefully will drive not only insurance to be more accessible, but also more approachable for everyday people.
Yeah, thanks, Nikhil. It does seem like a time where there's a good opportunity for the market to expand and make use of some of these innovations and things that are out there. So then to end, we're just asking you to look ahead. What are some of the biggest challenges and opportunities you anticipate for P&C reinsurance in your regions? And then how is Swiss Re positioning itself to navigate them?
Thank you. And I'm afraid for your audience, I'm going to be supremely boring. Look, for me, the three topics, and again, it's been this way for a number of years, and maybe it should be this way in a riskier world, right? Is clearly climate, economy, and geopolitics. But to end on, in my view, a very positive note, I think our industry does a lot and will do even more, right? So we talked about public-private partnerships. Our know-how to governments, to the public sector is fantastic as an industry. And I'm really proud when we're vocal and at the table to discuss with them these solutions. Secondly, we talked about parametric, we talked about Build Back Better, any features that help people get insurance proceeds at their time of need, but also think about the mitigation aspects. That's a phenomenal way to make society more sustainable and more resilient. And the last piece is the technology, right? The ability to put in the hands of our collective end clients new ways of seeing their own risk through tools like CatNet or through some of the modeling. I think people want to handle their risk better in our industry, as we always have been, and we hope Swiss Re, we always are, can be great partners in this journey.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Nikhil. That was a great place to end and a great message. Look, thanks again for joining me today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Good luck with your negotiations at Baden-Baden and for the rest of the year.
Thank you so much, Luke.
Thanks.